Go ahead and try to mess with the mic again. I grew up telling my teachers that my dad sold drugs. Once the desired reaction was reached, usually sooner than later, I would be forced to quickly backpedal and explain he worked for a pharmaceutical company. The lifestyle of a drug-pushing father required us to move often, every 2 years to be exact. So a large part of my early years were spent as the new kid. Small town to new city, I always found myself in the vulnerable position of being picked on. I never did anything about it. If it was bad enough, I would just remind myself that in a year or so, I wouldn't have to deal with them. So they pushed through their food at me, and I just lowered my head and took it. That all changed with the incident in Kansas City. One summer evening, deep in the dark of night, I felt a deep, troubling itch. Something in my room watched me. Both dream and reality tossed this notion back and forth like a volleyball. Reality was telling me it was a dream and go back to sleep. My sleepy side denied it and refused to let me. It was the subtle scratch on the carpet that finally broke the toss-up and sent me sitting straight up just in time to catch a pale figure scurrying out of the window light in my room. Anything other than using the cliche, I peed myself, to explain my fright would be unjust. Daylight finally came with no more visits. I thought about telling my parents, but knew they would do very little about it. A couple of nights passed with no more unwanted guests, and the odd incident was forgotten, just in time for the next. Lying on my side, facing the wall, my bed was against the wall. I don't know how long my eyes had been closed when I heard a shuffle on the carpet behind me. The only sign that time had passed shone in the movement of moonlight upon my wall. This time I was awake, and I could hear it breathing. The choices were laid out. Pull the covers closer, or throw the covers back and face it. The tap on my shoulder sent me scurrying across to the other side of the bed, pressing myself as close to the wall as I could. I turned around and, again, the shuffle of carpet as it scurried back into some shadow of my room, leaving me only a glimpse of this pale visitor. This time, I tell my parents. They don't believe me. My dad states it is impossible. And how late am I staying up anyway? That night, I finally decided to confront the demon. I wouldn't let it sneak up on me. I would lay facing the center of my room and I would wait for however long it took to witness it. However, I expected there would be no repeat visit for some time. But to my surprise, it happened immediately again. Laying in bed, I watched the visage step out of the shadows and into the full moonlight cascading into my room, proving my parents were wrong. It was perfectly possible for my brother to be awake at 2 a.m., standing stark naked in the moonlight of my room. I sat up. He raised his hands up behind his head and shook his thing. The little 6-year-old terror giggled and tore out of the room through the bathroom doorway that joined our 2 rooms, shutting and locking his side behind him. This happened every night for a week. I said nothing of it to my parents. Something inside me had clicked. I'd like to note that my brother is my parents' little cherub. They love him. This would never happen. Plus he's 6. Something inside me had finally clicked. He had broken me. I don't know if it was because he was violating my room and privacy with his nakedness, or if it was because, no, that was it. I decided I could take no more, and it was time to cowboy up. I waited. I let him come in and surprise me, then do his ghoulish cabaret. I watched him scurry away, snickering with delight. And then I waited longer. About a half hour later, I slithered out of bed and lay on my stomach on the floor and waited a little longer. When the house was perfectly silent, I began a slow, arm-over-arm army crawl through my bedroom and into the bathroom. Because I hadn't given chase, he left his door open. I continued my army crawl, stopping every once in a while when the floor would creak, and I would sit there for like 5 minutes and just wait for the house to settle and then begin my crawl. I made it over the tile, and then I made it into the carpet of his room. As I came around the corner, I could see his bed, and I could see the lump of him lying under the covers from the floor, and I could hear whatever it is 6-year-olds whisper to themselves in the middle of the night. Just sitting there going, I continue my crawl, and I roll onto my back, and I slip under his bed.
Oh.
Now, my brother knows the rules that you never, ever, ever let your foot hang out from the sheets. But this monster doesn't care. I slipped my fingers underneath the covers and slowly slid them, searching for him. The whispering stopped. Finally, my finger grazed his little dino pajamas, which he got dressed, good for him. And I grabbed his ankle and I pulled. Sent the 6-year-old sailing through the air and landing on the floor, and before he could catch wind and scream, I sucked him under the bed. And quickly made my exit. The screaming commenced. Lights turned on, and I'm lying in bed, and suddenly my bedroom door opens, and my parents come pounding in. John, what are you thinking? Which, of course, what's going on? Is everything okay? Too tired to talk to me further, they shut the door. I was not done. As long as my parents knew, as long as my brother knew that my parents would come to his aid and be there, he would continue to harass me. So the next day, I waited for my moment, and sure enough, it came. My parents have a very tall 4-poster bed, the kind that as a kid you have to know pole vaulting to get onto. My mother was sitting on the bed with her back propped up by pillows reading a magazine, and my brother next to her playing one of his little Tiger electronics, sitting on the bed just enjoying his time with her. I jumped to the floor and I began the army crawl into my mother's room. If I could pull this off, if I could show him that there is no safety even next to my parents, he would never try anything again. I began slowly, arm over arm, because I was a pro now. And suddenly I stopped. My mom was looking right at me. She chewed her lip and she goes, and I sat there and waited because she said nothing. Just shook her head. Don't you dare. I tested it. And I pressed further. She continued to watch me and continued to glare with the occasional but still, she said nothing. I'm under the bed. And there's his little footies dangling. The bed monster was going to strike it. Oh, don't you? Oh. right up to his feet, and I grabbed both of them. And I pulled so hard that he flew forward, full on belly flopping on the carpet. His Tiger electronic flying through the master bathroom doorway and crashing in there. And again, I sucked it in. Promptly crawled up on top of him, screaming and writhing, and crawled out. And I stood up and I looked at my mom. Tears were welling up in her eyes. Her face was beet red. And no matter how angry she was, all of her energy was put into not laughing. I walked away unscathed. The effects of that experience has carried for years. One, I know for a fact that I can handle myself. That revenge is best served creatively. And as for my brother, who enjoyed naked dances in the moonlight, he recently came out.